Hello, welcome back to Geek Warning, the podcast from Escape Collective that discusses the mechanical workings of cycling. Yet again, trying another intro. I'm Dave Rome, and joining me this week,
Suvi Loponen, tech reporter.
Hey, Suvi. Thanks for joining us. It's just you and I this week. Everyone else is away, and so we get the super talent. How has it been? We haven't heard from you for a few weeks.
Oh, nothing much has happened.
Yeah.
Life's been good.
Good. Riding bikes?
Yeah, I've been riding a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
All right. What's I know you went out this morning, so what was the bike that you were on this morning?
I was on the Basso SV.
Okay. All right.
Because
it's rolling.
It's a bike that I've been it's rolling finally now after months of waiting and loads of mishaps.
Okay.
It's rolling.
Yeah. All will be told in good time, I'm sure, with that one. But yeah, very good. No problems today, I hope.
No, actually, no. It was all smooth sailing today.
Okay, very good.
Literally smooth sailing. So yeah, finally feels good.
Very good
to be riding it.
Very good. All right. Well, yeah, this week we've got a couple little bits of, I guess, industry news, or sort of, is it industry news? I guess it's interesting news. Yeah. This week we've got a couple of bits of interesting news, and then we've got a PSA that I think we're going to turn into something that's also on our mind, related to the spares we carry. So always a popular topic, and plenty to discuss there. And yeah, I think after that we'll probably head into Ask a Wrench, where the comeback of Zach Edwards out of Boulder Grupetto. He's back on this week, so we'll hear him and I answer some mechanical questions from our members. But anyway, first on the list is an update on the Shimano crank recall. This is huge news, I think, about a year ago, but there's been some movement in the US on this one. So what's the basic story here?
Yeah, so the court case that was filed, I believe it was just weeks after the actual recall was announced, it's progressed forward. So it's now got a preliminary approval for the settlement. So that means that Shimano and the people against Shimano have agreed on terms that they both find reasonable, which is what Shimano said. Because so how the story came even out that there's been progress in this was that I saw a Shimano statement on their website, like their kind of corporate side website, which was from 4th of August. The settlement had already been approved on 29th of July, but on 4th of August, Shimano said that the settlement is subject to final approval by the court and that they consider the terms to be reasonable. And they also said that they will not want to disclose what the actual specific terms are because their final approval hasn't been obtained. But basically, we've looked through the court kind of minutes from the 29th of July, and it seems like what has already been discussed before earlier in the summer in the court, that's the settlement that has been approved. Yeah. There's not big changes. And yeah, basically a lot of it revolves around how the inspection process will be for the shops.
Yep. So I think it's probably not huge news in that, like, anyone that has been impacted by this or has gone to get their crank inspected, like, you're not necessarily going to get a payout or anything like that. As also, I think the one thing people were hoping that Shimano would start to do is, instead of it being like an inspection-based recall, that cranks would just be replaced sight unseen. And it doesn't sound like that is changing either. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, still the shops are still going to be liable for, or whoever dealers who's able to do the inspection, they are still needing to do that. They're now just going to have a magnifying device with a light that will be provided, and they're going to have extra support, extra guidance on how to actually perform the inspections.
Okay.
And there is going to be, for those who have had to get their cranks replaced before the official recall started, was it 2023? And they've had to pay for those cranksets, they can now ask for reimbursement of that cost.
Okay. Oh,
so that's kind of like the only action that if you are affected.
Hard one for them to prove, though, isn't it, for a customer, like to find the receipt from that far back and to actually kind of, I guess, I don't know how you'd actually prove that, but Yeah.
It did seem when I was reading through that, I mean, reading through all these core legal jargon is a little bit difficult to put into kind of everyday words. It should be done in a way that is like easy for the consumers
Yep.
to do. And there was a whole section about it, how the language used there has to be in these documents that they have to fill, has to be very easy to understand. And it did seem that even if you don't have a receipt of those purchases, you can try to ask
Okay.
for the reimbursement.
All right.
If you have, I guess, some sort of other evidence to back it up. I don't know, maybe bank statements or something like that.
I think it's probably worth recapping quickly, like just I mean what this recall is for people that aren't aware, which is it sort of applies to Shimano's hollow crank arms on the road side of things, the 11-speed generation of crank arms. So there was a couple of models, a couple of generations of Ultegra, and a couple of generations of Dura-Ace cranks that fell under this recall. And basically it was sort of like a corrosion and a failure of like the bond between the two hollow parts of the crank would lead to potential for crank failure, and that's sort of what this recall applies to. And I think you have too. You've sort of been reaching out to shops for an update on how this is going for them, and I reached out to a number of shops, and I guess what's interesting is it does sound like it's really, really slowed down as far as the amount of cranks that these shops are seeing. Like there was obviously a big surge in the first few months, and things have gotten pretty quiet now. And I think the big question mark that remains now is like, what happens to the customers that have had their cranks inspected and continue to ride them? Because in theory, the crank could still fail. Like it passed inspection, but there's nothing to say that it doesn't then later corrode and have this issue. So I think that's probably the remaining frustration in the marketplace, that like customers still may not have as much trust in the product that they once did, and shops probably still feel obliged to continue to inspect these cranks even though they technically have already been inspected. Is that the sentiment you got at all from speaking with any of the shops?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like they do feel obliged. And I think everyone I spoke to as well said that obviously before the official recall, all of them were first to say that, we've been doing this for years before this, and we've been replacing them before, probably almost more than we did after. But interestingly, also a couple of people mentioned that they've been getting people bringing the broken cranks that they've just been storing at home.
My hand is up.
Like,
yep.
Like that crankset, I could actually take it to the shop.
Yep.
And they did obviously say about it, because we talked about the failure rates, and in these court documents as well, like Shimano is obviously claiming that there weren't that many injuries, there weren't that many failures of these cranksets. But when I was asking the shops as well, like how many, like what kind of percentage did you maybe fail or that were failed, they said like, well, it's most of the customers that come in, they've already noticed something wrong with the crank.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily an accurate representation of how many of them will fail.
Yep.
That if you say that the shop got 100 cranksets investigated and inspected, they failed 70 of them. But it might be because it's just that 70, that it's just higher proportion of those who have issues with them will go to get the inspection.
For sure. It's like reviews on the internet where people typically only leave a review when they have something bad to say. It's people typically only take their crank in when it has failed. So yeah.
But on actually something I didn't mention about the settlement, there is a part of it which is an extended warranty, which is the 2-year extension of the warranty, and it seems to apply for the cranksets that have been recalled. So that would kind of mean that 2 years from 29th of July, the warranty would still apply. So I guess that kind of means that for 2 more years, Shimano will be replacing these cranks, but then what happens after that is a little bit unclear.
So my understanding that was a little bit different, which is that the recall sort of is in place of the warranty. Like the warranty no longer matters if your affected crank is covered by the recall. I was under the impression that warranty relates to like if Shimano were to replace your crank, then the replacement gets a fresh warranty applied to it. Am I misunderstanding that?
Well, I don't know if which one of us is misunderstanding? From reading it, I really understood that it would be because it kind of implied for those that, like if you do go to the shop and you still continue to ride with the crank, to provide
Okay.
more reassurance for the consumer that they can then go back
Right.
and ask.
Interesting.
Because I think it would be, looking at it from the perspective that you gave, I think that would almost be Shimano in kind of implying that there is a worry that these replacement cranks will fail. And I really doubt that they would put that out there.
No, I mean, I kind of just took it as them like treating it like, here's your new crank and here's a warranty with it, rather than like, because like the normal warranty period for most Shimano components is 2 years. Duros is historically 3, but so yeah, I don't know, but like the struggle with that and why we're unclear on it is that Shimano hasn't made, like this is still pending and Shimano haven't made any official statements on it. So I guess this is one of those things where we'll wait and see, and there probably will be some clarity on it once this case is finalized. But yeah, there you go. Some movement on that. Cool.
Yeah, we can provide clarity probably in February time or so.
Okay, all right.
Because that's when it should get the final approval, if it does get it, which it should get.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, one to follow up again. Sounds like maybe in the new year, but there you have it. Little update. All right, the next little bit of news, and this is something people with first generation Wahoo Bolts or Roams, or even the original Element, I believe, may have experienced already, which is the 10-bit system in these. Has an internal clock that has caused some devices to effectively stop working as intended. They basically think it's 2006 again, and as a result of causing all sorts of havoc for people that own these, as far as trying to upload devices or even just trying to get accurate GPS data. It's causing all sorts of communication havoc. Just prior to recording this, they've Wahoo has actually made a public announcement now saying that they are actively working on this, sort of all hands on deck, trying to come up with a solution. And I guess the difficulty in it is that it impacts devices that are now a few generations old. So it sounds like they can't just necessarily do a firmware update for the latest firmware. I think they're having to really test a specific firmware that only applies to these original devices.
I was just looking for, because to mention that Lisign, I think it was Lisign computers, they seem to be affected as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And I saw someone had commented, because Joe covered this for us, and I was just looking for that comment, what they'd said, because it wasn't affecting the computer in the same way. It was the date was wrong, but it seemed that the data was still more correct than the Wahoos that I saw just this morning. Someone had uploaded their ride and their max speed was 280 kilometers an hour. For sure, that had not happened.
Same.
They said they got loads of qualms, but apparently it didn't dare to make the right.
They got flagged for using an e-bike, unfortunately. So yeah, it is a sort of a known GPS issue, and Raymaker of DC Raymaker was first to report on this, sort of citing that the likes of GoPro had a similar issue in the past with their drones, and I believe Garmin was also rumored to have a similar issue back in January with its watches, although I believe Garmin claimed it was not that issue. But yeah, anyway, there you go. Tech biting people that didn't expect to wake up and start using their computer and then have a device that isn't working anymore. And judging by the comments, a lot of people just assumed it was time to get a new unit. Their unit was buggy and playing up, and they're like, oh well, I got my life out of it. But it wasn't anything they did, and hopefully with a firmware update there's more life in those units yet.
There's still no clarity on that though, when that firmware update is going to come.
No,
soon.
Sadly not. Yeah, soon. Yeah, sounds like Wahoo's working on it, but until then, just take out those rim brake road bikes, and I don't know what else is from.
Chase those comms and qualms.
Yeah. let's move on to, I guess, a PSA meets a on our mind meets a even like a pick one, which we haven't had in a while, which is contributor to Escape, and yeah, he's a freelance mechanic in the mountain bike World Cup scene. Dominic Egenhagen, Aussie. He recently went out for a ride, got a flat tire, went to use the TPU tube that he's carried, I believe, in the down tube storage of his bike for a while now, and had found that the tube had basically disintegrated. So yeah, his suggestion for a PSA is to check in on your spares, see how they're doing, and yeah, just ask them how they're feeling. So, Suvi, have you had this issue?
I have had the exact same issue actually with TP YouTube just last week, because I've
Oh,
been carrying two in my down tube storage as well, and then I needed those said tubes, and turns out that both of them had already holes in them,
oh,
which
okay.
probably had been caused by other things that had been in the bag, I would assume, because at least one of them looked like it was just something had kind of pierced one of them. And the other one, to be honest, I don't know what had happened to it, but it did not hold any air. Luckily,
Mm-mm.
I was at home, so I didn't then have to walk home from
Gotcha.
somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But it was definitely a timely reminder that, yeah, you do need to check those tubes. And also a reminder, because I checked that the spares that you carry, that they actually fit the things that you are riding. Because I recently, especially with TPU tubes, I just swapped the tires on the Terra, the Orbea Terra that I'm riding, to quite wide mountain bike tires. And the TPU tubes that I'm carrying do definitely not fit that wide of a tire. And it took me a good 3 weeks of riding before I realized that
Whoops.
actually I'm not carrying a single tube with me. Well, later that I realized even the tubes that I was carrying had punctures in them, but I did not even have the right size tube with me. I did not have a single mountain bike tube.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That is a classic tech editor problem. Yeah,
yeah.
always testing bikes with yeah, you sort of have to like match your spares kit individually to each test bike, which gets complicated. So yeah, I used to have a actually no, I still do. I have a lot of spares kits, and I used to have them labeled. I've gotten pretty bad, but I used to have them labeled based on like wheel
Mm.
diameter, because I guess back then there were multiple wheel diameters in play, and yeah, like tire widths, and then even like valve length is one to watch out for. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
all the things. But yeah, it's interesting you say that with TPU. I find them to be not very abrasion resistant. Like I like them as spares because they're so compact and light, but at the same time they do seem more susceptible to failing as a spare before they're called to action. So uh, yeah, I think. Do you protect them in any way? Like, do you put them into?
No, not really. No. I mean, if I put them in the down tube storage, yeah. To be honest, even in a saddlebag, no, I would just kind of roll them and put them
Mm,
in there with
yeah,
all the other stuff.
yeah. So I think
Yeah.
they're a tube. I think any tube could benefit from this, but like putting them into a plastic bag or wrapping them in like cling film, or if you don't want throwaway plastic, like an old sock is kind of a funny one to do. Although that tends to hold on to moisture, so that has its own negatives. But yeah, I sort of would wrap them in something that protects them, just given how susceptible they are to abrasion. And I'd also, yeah, I guess I go a step further and sort of make sure that nothing's like smacking against them while I'm riding. So like everything's sort of tightly condensed. So I'll use like elastic bands to secure the things that float around with them to keep them all together. And I mainly do that because I can't stand rattles, but the side benefit of it is the tubes go further. So but yeah, I think yeah, check your tubes, check if you carry a patch kit, check the glue, check the if you have glueless patches, check whether they're still sticky. What else would there be? Maybe in the mini pump, people tend to not use their mini pumps very much, and the seals do degrade. I would take that and see if you can actually inflate a tire to a decent pressure and that it actually holds air and functions correctly. What am I missing?
I guess multi-tool as well. I've definitely had at least one set completely kind of go rusty. Not that you could still use it,
Yeah.
but probably worth keeping an eye on it as well. that it's just not living in the saddlebag for a year before it comes out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. Multi-tools, they can rattle loose and like fall apart, some of the folding ones, and rust
that too, yeah.
Yeah, rust is definitely an issue. But yeah, just check your spares, make sure you've got everything. I can't even remember when it was. It was probably a few months ago. I went to fix a torn sidewall to find that the CO2 cartridge I'd been carrying around for the last year had already been used. So
I think that's a common mistake.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a good PSA. So thank you, Dominic. And I guess that brings me on to another topic, which is we haven't had a PSA for ages, and I think there's something on your list, Suvi, to write up as a collective favorites from the team. But what do you carry in your saddlebag or said down tube storage or frame bag, like spares wise? What are your selections? And I guess, does it vary from like gravel to road? What do you got with you?
It doesn't really vary, to be honest, at all. Basic things would be pump, tire levers, multi-tool, ideally 2 tubes. But if, to be honest, with down tube storage, if you don't have TPU tubes, I have not managed to fit a regular butyl tube in there. It's just, there's no space. So then it's 1 tube.
Yeah, certainly some of the latest down tube storage where they're like integrated into like almost aero bikes, you're not fitting much in there except for a thin TPU tube. So, or you're fitting 1 butyl tube and nothing else. It's
yeah, and then forget about it.
Yeah, tell me the specifics. Like what mini pump you're using, what multi-tool you're using.
It's a Design Pocket Drive. That's what it is. It has seen better days.
How many valve cores have you accidentally unthreaded with that?
Oh, so many. Like, well, if I might add, they don't live in my saddlebag or anywhere, but I love if you can get dust caps with valve core remover integrated into it. Like, I basically now have a couple that if the bike doesn't come with one, I will swap one on it, because if I do have to use this pump, it's very likely that the valve core will come off. It's not tight enough, and most of them are not tight enough. But I also wrap some electrical tape around it, so I have that with me.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, my tire levers are a selection of Schwalbe and Canyon today. I'm not too fussy. I'm not like you.
Yeah, fair enough. The Schwalbe one's actually pretty good.
Yeah, the Canyon one's done the job as well before. I have a Pro multi-tool with a chain breaker on it, which I've luckily never had to use.
It's like a folding kind of multi-tool. Yep.
Yeah, it's a very, very small, does the job. And a Schwalbe TPU Aerothan tube.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right. Nice.
Because,
what's the saddlebag?
Oh, the saddlebag is a Pacific Northwest. This has actually it was a previous collective favorite feature.
Yep.
This bag was featured there.
Yeah.
I've had it for years now, and it's the only saddlebag I use. And it does the job. It just about fits the mini pump and everything that I just listed in there. So, yeah.
Nice.
It works. And to be honest, this is my road bike kit because I don't have tubeless on it at the moment. Otherwise, I would also have a tubeless plug kit, a dyno plug one usually. Yeah. But I also have it's a WTB one with the little, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
again, don't remember what it's called.
It's licensed by Clever Standard, or licensed from Clever Standard. So it's like almost like a dyno plug-esque, where they have like bullets that go with the plug.
Yeah,
that's the
little
one. Yeah,
bullets. Yeah, the little actual end bits just fly about if you open it the wrong way.
Yes.
So bad.
I've used the Clever Standard one, not the WTB, but yeah, it's if you open it up with it upside down, it's bring a tear to the eye.
Yeah, it will. I think it's this one's called Rocket, I think. Yeah. It's WTB Rocket tubeless tire plug kit.
Yeah.
But I have found it works a little bit better than just the regular strips with the fork style, because they always just pull the plugs out. But I think that's my spares.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
What do you carry?
I tend to change it up based on the bike. So, because I ride a mix of mountain bike, road and gravel, less road these days. But so I tend to actually like have kits specific to each bike that I just leave with the bike, which means I have a lot of spares. The exception is that I'll often these days put like the dyno plug and a multi tool for some bikes into my pocket with like my key and a few other things. Like I'll put it in a little zippered case. So that goes from bike to bike. But yes, I mean, multi tool wise tends to either be the Day Saver, which like the original Day Saver, which is like a cool little like L-shaped L wrench Allen key, but with like modular flippable bits, which is really quite neat. Or I will carry, especially with test bikes where I know I'll be adjusting things, I'll carry the Spur Cycle titanium tool, which is like just a bit based tool. Like it just uses little hex bits, but with like a really nice titanium sliding T-bar that is just really lovely to use. So that's the multi-tool. Pretty much all the bikes I use, even if they're test bikes, will be set up tubeless. So I always have a dyno plug. My favorite is the Racer Pro dyno plug, which is like their racing tool with preloaded plugs, but it has 4 preloaded plugs in it. So it sort of covers all, and it's really, really small and compact. It's half the size of a pen basically. So it's and that I've found really effective. What else is there? Yeah, tubes. Typically it's Tubolito, but I'll also quite happily carry like a lightweight butyl tube if it's a spare kit that I'm sort of not permanently attaching to a bike. And then typically I'll have CO2 because I've got quite a lot of faith. Often speaking, I'll have quite a lot of faith in the tires and the fact that the sealant is fresh and all that, and that I hopefully won't need to use more than a dyno plug. I will typically carry CO2 with like an inflator head that my favorite inflator heads sort of have like the little dial screw that allows you to control the flow of the inflator, so you sort of don't end up wasting the contents everywhere while it leaks out the valve. You can really control it. So Blackburn is one that comes to mind that I really like, but I think Silk also does one. A few other brands do them. But so I'll do CO2. Mini pump I tend to only use for like adventure type riding. Like if I'm going far or like packing a bag kind of thing, I will take a mini pump. And then I have obviously been using electric inflators for quite a while at this point. I still tend not to carry them, largely due to size.
Why?
Largely due to size, due to waterproofing, and due to the fact that because I've got so many bikes on the go, I don't want to have to think about them. So that's why I have just CO2 attached to each bike. The exception at the moment is my gravel bike, which has a nice big down tube storage, and that I do have a little inflator in that, and that is my most used.
Which one can you fit in there?
So that's got the Psych Plus AS2 Pro.
Oh, the smaller one.
Yeah, which is it's not even the smallest one. It's like it's got a gauge. Your question, so I'm currently redoing my inflator test, and I've got way too many, and it's overwhelming me by how many I've got. But one of the categories in that is size wise, I'll be testing whether they actually fit into that down tube storage hatch, because it's the bike's the Santa Cruz Stigmata, and it's quite a large hatch. It's the same hatch that they have on their mountain bikes, and I feel like if it fits in that, then I would categorize it as truly compact as an inflator. And if it doesn't fit in that, which most won't, then it's the next size up. So I kind of am choosing that as like the category of how to define the sizing on these things. I think that's the full list.
Do you carry any chain links or anything like that? Because again, I have these things I've already told about my tube issues and things that I realize halfway through a long ride that I'm not carrying a thing that I need. But I have a chain breaker, for example. But do I have spare links? No. At one point, I realized I was carrying spare links, but I had 11-speed spare links, and I was running at 12 speed. And
it'd probably work in a pinch, but Again, it depends on the bike. I actually have quite a lot of faith in modern chains. I quite happily will go out on test bikes, for example, without a chain breaker. Just because, I just don't see chain failures so often anymore. Like it really is very, very rare. Like modern chains are exceptionally good. That said, I've got what I forgot to mention is on some of my mountain bikes or all my mountain bikes, I have integrated tools. So I've got like either typically in the steerer tube, I've got 1-up tools on most of the bikes. And those actually have like an integrated chain link holder and a chain breaker. And so on those bikes, I do have chain breaker and chain link attached. And they just sit in the steerer tube and they're always there. So, that reminds me, tie levers. Pedro's tie levers is I typically just take one tie lever. Yep.
You only take one.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah, you don't need spares.
Strong hands.
Why'd you need two levers?
I can't get the tire off with one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it depends on your tires. Some tires will definitely need a second, but
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a skill thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I typically just go one and hope for the best. There you go.
Sometimes spares. None. Hope for the best.
Yep. So
spares is a funny one though, because we could go into bikepacking spares. Because sometimes when I do bikepacking, I still remember when I did the North Coast 500, I did it by myself, like camped and everything. And then it was my first time riding a bike with Di2. And previously I would have packed a couple of cables for gear cables or brake cables when I still had cable brakes. And then this was when I was packing my spares. I was like, so I was still packing the cables into the bag. And then at some point I was like, well, what am I going to do with this cable?
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything. And it was a bit of a scary moment for me because I was like, I don't know if I can trust this. Like, is the battery going to last and everything? And it obviously did last well. And I had absolutely zero issues. But it was, learning curve.
Yeah, I would recommend for people on modern electric bikes with wireless shifting to carry batteries as spares. Not if for
like for SRAM.
Yeah, like and latest Shimano stuff, like very latest Shimano stuff, the wireless mountain bike gravel stuff. I think like coin cell batteries I think is a good one just to throw in your kit, like for your shifters. That's a common one to fail and or to catch you by surprise. And I also think just for SRAM, like it's like a battery's like 22 grams or something like that. And just it's really small, and maybe it's not needed if you're just like going out on your 2-hour Saturday morning ride. But I think if you're planning like an all day ride, I'd really consider packing it. Probably even I'd consider it more important than a chain breaker these days. You're more likely to forget to charge your battery than to have a broken chain. So
100%.
So spare batteries worth owning. But is there something that if you were to go like all day or overnight that you sort of then add into your spares kit that you wouldn't normally bother with?
Not really, to be honest. If it's a bike like more than one day, and if I know it's going to be wet, chain lube is something which isn't really a spare that's going into the maintenance, but it would go into kind of my spares kit, a little small bottle of something, because the chain is going to get noisy usually.
Yep.
If it's all day in wet conditions.
Yep. Shout out to this tip's come from multiple sources, but the person I remember most for sharing it is old friend Mike Blewett, who used to be a magazine editor in the cycling space, and he's a big fan of the little fishies that you get with your sushi, the soy sauce fishies, and you basically fill those up with chain lube, and like sort of single shot reusable plastic, but you get a full application of chain lube out of that, and very easy to store and quite reliable at holding the content. So little tip on that one.
Oh, and to be honest, sealant as well, because talking of small bottles, I do usually, if I'm going for especially really remote gravel stuff, I would probably take a small sealant bottle just in case again. Sometimes I wouldn't, but it's honestly doesn't add much weight, and then it's if you do need it, it's just gonna save you from potentially putting a tube in.
Yep, that's definitely a good tip. So there you have it. So yeah, I think that one is on the list. We'll get to that where we sort of ask the rest of the team the specific spares that they carry. But for now, check on your spares. Make sure they're doing all right, and that your tube that you're carrying actually holds air, because otherwise you may as well just leave it at home. So, all right. Well, yeah, that's I think that's actually the end of the episode. It's a short one this week. There's it's a quiet week in terms of tech news, and I think a lot of the industry have been focused on what's ahead, which is I think this weekend is Made in the USA, which is, I would say, quite easily now the world's largest hand built custom boutique bike show in the world, and yeah, held in Portland. And Escape's going to have Josh Weinberg there on the ground, but also the famed frame builder Rob English has decided not to display, and rather just wanted to put on a media hat and cover for us. So he's actually focused on capturing what other builders are up to at the show, which is quite the honor that he wanted to do that for us. So certainly check out Escape Collective for all the coverage, and I have asked Josh to try sit down with Rob at some point and get a dedicated podcast from the show where we'll talk about what they're seeing, trends, and what caught their eye, and I guess general vibes of the scene. So keep an ear out for that one, which should come out within the next week. So yeah, plenty to come. We'll have galleries almost every day from when you're hearing this through to probably the following week. So plenty of lovely bikes to be shared. All right, Suvi. Well, that's our time. I think it's time to head over into the members only section for Ask a Wrench with Zach Edwards of the Boulder Grupetto. And for those that aren't a member, you'll be missing out on us answering questions related to mysteriously slipping SPD cleats that no amount of tightening seems to remedy. We've got a question from a familiar voice about a question regarding e-bike lock rings and what to do when they're really stuck on there, and another question that is sort of how best to store bikes with modern features such as hydraulic disc brakes and suspension, and whether how you store them matters. Zach and I will aim to answer all of that and hopefully more. All right, Suvi, thanks for joining Geek Warning. Well, yeah, until next time, hope the Barso keeps behaving itself.
I hope so too.
All right. Thanks, Suvi. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks to Will Jones of Red Bricks Media for the editing and mixing of this episode.